Seminole game, quick recap.
Seminole, we went to the Seminole on Saturday, traveled down there. It was an afternoon game, played at 4 o'clock. Neither team came into the game playing very well. We were both coming off losses, and the game was back and forth. Really, it was very, very competitive all the way through. It was a 4-point game, I think, at half. They made a nice run in the second half. I felt like we staved off the run, and we had a nice control of the game until about the last 2 minutes, and they had executed us in the last 2 minutes. At the with about 3 seconds to go, we shoot a layup, miss it, and they get the board with 1.8 seconds. That layup would have tied it.
Was the layup contested?
No, it was a wide open layup. We just missed it, didn't execute. They went to the other end, hit a free throw. We never got off a shot at the very end to try to tie it. The game was in the 50s. Really, for the most part, very ugly game. I felt like we just aren't executing. Really, we didn't execute in that game very well, and we're not executing overall.
It was an ugly game, but a game you should have won nonetheless.
I feel like we had an opportunity to win it. As I told the coach, as we're shaking hands, they made the last 2 plays, and we did make the last 2 plays. We had an opportunity to at least tie it, and we missed the layup at the very end. So we've just got to figure out a way to win games, and we're not doing that right now.
Previewing tonight's game with Coffeyville, rematch, kind of a bitter loss early on in the season.
Yeah, Coffeyville is always a rivalry. We go to their place early in November, and they handled us very, very well. It was a 9-point game at half. We were down 9, and they just completely ran over us in the second half.
They've gone 11-1 or something like that.
Yeah, 10-1, I think, something along those lines. They're one of the better teams in the country. I mean, they beat the #1 team in the country, Midland, at their place. So they are very, very, very good. Their only loss is to Moberly, and that was at Moberly, the same team we played at Moberly. Coffeyville has 3 of the best, in my opinion, 3 of the best guards in the country. Shoot it extremely well. In fact, their 2 best shooters are shooting combined 49% from 3, which is unheard of. I think those numbers will drop as the year goes on, but it just shows how high level their guards are playing.
How do you defend those 3 guards?
Well, we've changed defenses since we played them the first time. We were playing man, switched to a zone, and you would look at it and you would say, well, good luck with a zone against a bunch of guys that can shoot. But I firmly believe it could help us in guarding them, because the way they play is they want to do what you call penetrate and pitch. They want to drive the ball at your wings. You would do what you call help in, and then they pitch the ball out to their shooters, giving them wide open looks. And against a zone that's not nearly as effective.
So you're going to, with your defense, with your zone defense, you're going to let them drive in and not necessarily pull towards the interior, and that way you protect the perimeter.
I think so. I think we're going to rely on. We're going to hope that they aren't as effective scoring in the middle of the paint as shooting a wide open 3.
So you're going to force them to beat you inside instead of on the outside.
Yeah, I don't think their post game's not as good as ours, and I don't know that their perimeter guys can really score in traffic as well as. I mean, they just shoot the ball extremely well when they don't have anybody around them. We're going to find out tonight if they can shoot it with people around them.
Going into tonight, what are your biggest concerns on your team?
Really, just chemistry and confidence. We're not playing that well together, and we have 0 confidence. We're on a 3-game losing skid.
Right.
I don't think you're not going to have a whole lot of confidence going into a game with losing the last 3. But confidence and just the ability to get our guys to play together, have a little bit of fight. This is our last game before Christmas break. You would hope we can go out on a good note. We're going to practice after tonight and continue to
go
get
out
better.
500, right?
Yeah, we would love to. I mean, at this point, we would have asked me at the beginning of the semester. We would have liked to be a lot further along, but that's not the reality of it. So I think with the situation we're in, win the last and kind of regroup and see how January moves forward.
We've talked a lot about some of the negatives that have occurred, in the past few press conferences with execution and turnovers and defense and stuff. What are some of at the halfway mark, what are some of the positives that you look at your team?
We've made improvements in some areas. We haven't been turning the ball over. I think we have a group of kids that really are trying to do what we want them to do. They're just not being successful at it yet. If we keep working at it and we eventually get the right combinations on the floor, I think we're going to be successful. How successful, I don't know. But at this point in the year, you would like to think that come January, come February, as our freshmen get more experience, we're going to improve in the details. And you can look no further than the fact that we've improved in the turnover battle. We were turning the ball over 20-some times a game early in the year, and we've cut that way down. So if we can improve in one area, we can definitely improve in others. You look at our team, if we just simply hit a few shots in the Simla game, in the Tonkawa game, even in the Connors game where we got beat handily, the games are much more competitive, and that's a matter of confidence. So hopefully we can start the new year with a little bit more confidence. Our kids work hard.
Are there any bright spots or surprises from some of your players that you really didn't see coming into the first half? Kind of some have stepped up or shined in certain ways?
I don't want to sound like a negative Nancy, but every one of our players can play better than they have. I think our perimeter guys have shown at times to be able to score the basketball better than maybe we anticipated. On the flip side, I think our post game hasn't been as good as we would like to. And I thought we felt coming in that would be our strength. We would like to see our post game get better and our perimeter game become more consistent. If we do those two things, we ought to be much more competitive in the second part of the year.
And coming back after Christmas, what's your first game?
We come back on the 4th of January to start practices. We don't play until the 11th of January. We play Carl Albert. They're not winning very many games right now. It's much too early to see kind of where they're at. But it's a game, once again, we feel like we ought to be able to be competitive in.
All right, Coach. Good luck tonight.
Thanks, Brad.